Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com. In the late 1990s, 8-year-old Sasha and her Hungarian immigrant family relocate to a new home on Vancouver Island. Their fresh start is interrupted by an increasingly dangerous behavior from Jeremy, the family's oldest child. The film is called Blue Heron, and we're joined today by the director and writer of this incredible film, beautifully done, Sophy Romvari. Sophy, welcome to Cinemophile.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike. I'm excited to chat with you.
There's just so much about the film. Not only is it the structurally interesting, it's a compelling story, something I think anyone who has survived their family will understand and appreciate. Just in terms of where this story came from, because there's so much about it that feels very familiar to you. I don't know you, and I don't know if that's an accurate assessment of it. It feels like it came from somewhere very personal.
Yeah, I mean it's a fair assumption. The story itself is quite autobiographical. The experiences in the film are pretty directly pulled from my memory, but they're also highly constructed in a obviously a very fictional narrative film. So I'm pulling from memories, but I'm also doing a lot of blending memories from different periods of my life, and some of it's just pure fiction. But at the end of the day, it is my family's story, more or less, and also, as it turns out, many family stories. It seems after having shown the film now for the last 8 months or so, I've met so many people who really deeply relate to the story. So it's interesting. You know, obviously this is a very common phrase that the more specific something is, the more universal it becomes. And I do feel like I'm experiencing that on quite a high level with this film.
Based on your previous work, which is, I believe, predominantly short format
Mhm.
films, is this something that you have been building towards in terms of wanting to make a feature and kind of drawing upon your past? Has that been part of your process as a filmmaker, is to 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 springboard into a feature film?
I knew I wanted to make feature films eventually, but I never wanted to make a feature film until I had a concept that would justify the process. And so when I was making my shorts, I wasn't thinking them as springboards, but now, obviously, looking back, they really did help me develop my voice as a filmmaker, my confidence, my instincts, and I'm also tackling a lot of the similar subject matter. So the two things are intrinsically linked, but I didn't know that at the end of the shorts there would be this exact feature. But when you see them all together, it kind of has a pretty obvious through line. But I didn't know like 10 years ago that this is the film I was going to make at the end. But it is essentially more or less my life up until this point.
The film, again, if you have experienced in your travels with this film, that the relatability, I don't know many families that have not experienced some version of, especially if you have siblings. But this is something that, in terms of understanding the relationships in a family with multiple children, how that can shift and change, and things that you don't know about or things that you think you do, that's all part, for me, that's all part of what we see in this film, Blue Heron. The other part of the film that is very interesting is the structure of it. But
Mhm.
before we get to that part of it, which I thought was just beautifully done, finding the tone, finding that, and also if you could, I know I'm asking a lot of multi-layered questions here, but the tone of the film and also the cinematography for me are very much in woven together in telling this story. Let's talk about the cinematography and how you set this tone.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, yeah, the cinematography was so important to creating this very strong atmosphere. And so much of the film is really actually a highly curated atmosphere because I wanted the viewer to feel like they're living with this family and experiencing, the world through Sasha's experience of growing up in this family. And much of that is not through heavy plot points, but through atmosphere. And because of that, the cinematography was really important. It was really important that the cinematography gave that sense of intimacy, but also kind of from a distance, because we're experiencing it from, there's a bit of a remove. And so the way we achieved that was through using a long lens, a zoom lens that we were shooting from sort of quite far back in many cases. And it gives this sense of like the image becomes compressed. So we're far away, but we're actually quite intimate and involved in the space of these characters. And it gives this sense that's a bit dreamlike and a bit nostalgic. And then obviously in the second half of the film, we become a little bit more cold and removed because we're in a contemporary space in a setting that is a little bit less inviting.
Let's identify the your cinematographer.
Maya Bankovich is
Yeah.
the cinematographer and sort of just my dream collaborator, and we really fell into a cinematic language together with this film that was so cohesive and so united, I think.
Yeah, and that as you're describing it, that's precisely the feeling I had. Thank you for putting words to it when I was watching the film, was that we were in intimate spaces with this family and seeing the interaction between them. But you're right, there is a sense of distance, or there's something observational more than being in the room, as
Yeah.
opposed to standing outside the room and watching what's happening. And yeah, that's a beautiful instinct on your part in
Mm,
terms of that, being able to pull us in those two different kind of spaces, if you will.
thank you.
Also, and it's because it's been brought up in a couple of articles, the look of the location and the house that they're living in. Again, there's a sense of two different things at the same time, a sense of intimacy in a smaller space, but also something feels just off about it.
Mm. I mean, I think the vastness of the world around them was a big part of creating that atmosphere. Like the ocean is such a beautiful and rich metaphor for the isolation that this family is experiencing. And it's such a big part of my experience growing up because I did grow up on an island, and there's something very different about that. You know, you always sense that you're sort of on the edge of something,
Mm,
rather than if you grow up inland, landlocked. It's there's something. It changes the way you kind of feel your placement in the world, I think. And
mm,
I now I find myself so drawn to the water. Like where I live in Toronto, I live in an area that's very close to a lake, and I feel drawn to being on the very edge so that I can almost like I have an escape route or something. I don't know what it is, but it felt important to me to include that sense of the vastness of the natural world around this family as things are becoming more and more isolated and dysfunctional.
well, the acting is just fantastic in the film. So let's talk a little about, well, it's hard to say leads. I mean, lead because there's a number of people that I would consider the leads in this film.
Yeah.
But let's talk about your choice in bringing these actors into Blue Heron.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It is kind of a multi ensemble piece in many ways, even if it's from Sasha's point of view. I wasn't really strict about keeping things always in her, sight line or vision. And I think we obviously as we grow up, we're informed by the people that are surrounding us. And so, of course, the parents become very prominent as characters, and Jeremy himself, of course, is kind of the antagonist and protagonist, and
Yeah.
Sasha's the viewpoint. But so yeah, it was really important to me through the casting process to make sure that every single person that was brought into this project had a sort I guess like an intangible presence to them, and that's something I can't really describe. It's just like as a director when you feel like it's right, and especially with Edic Beddoes who plays Jeremy, who was street cast and had never acted before. It was purely just a an instinct I had about him, and he has such a unique sense to him and a unique presence that I just really felt like it was worth taking a leap of faith with him and him with me. And um, yeah, I think casting is really 90% of directing when it comes to performance because you know right at that stage if the actor is going to be willing to go there with you.
Yeah, and I don't think I've done service enough to the story itself and what an impossible situation that the parents find themselves in, unable to break through to
Mhm.
Jeremy and they're empathetic. They want to try and do what they can to bring him back into the family, and just to watch them, and particularly is it Iringo Reti?
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
Iringo Reti and Adam
Yeah.
Tumpa are really wonderful at. There are no bad guys in this film in
Yeah.
that regard. I mean, there's no one that you would say, well, that's why these things are happening.
Mhm.
And especially to watch mom and grappling with this, and then you begin to see the outside forces of the world, the people in the neighborhood. There's some
Mhm.
law enforcement involved, some people coming in from child services. So there's a lot to try to figure out a way forward in the film. And I just thought Iringo was she did a fantastic job in the
Yeah.
film.
She really had to carry so much of the emotional weight of the film, and as the sort of provider, emotional provider in the family, and the constant search that is on for answers. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a very particular role that I was casting because I didn't want to depict a hysterical mother like that we've seen so many times in films before. I wanted to depict a mother who is potentially, yeah, being challenged, but is also daily trying to tackle that challenge with compassion, but also realistically frustration and even moments of just desperation. But like it was important to me that that character never cries because I didn't want her to. I didn't want the audience to feel like this was a new situation. This is actually just the daily life of this family, and this has been ongoing for a long, long time. And yeah, maybe they're at their wits' end, but it's really a big part of their characters were that we're in the middle of this experience. It's not the beginning.
And when we get to that point in the film where it turns in a different direction, it was remarkably fluid in the way that you were able to do that. I didn't feel like it was any kind of a jarring change, either tonally or otherwise in the film. So I think some obviously that's the writing as director and writer of the film, but also finding, credit to your editor for finding the way forward between the two of you collaboratively. It's seamless, and it really and it continues to further the story, and it also furthers the story so that by the end of the film there is this ending, there's this kind of, I don't know exactly how, it's not a catharsis, it's just it's powerful, let's put it that way.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I agree. It's a to have people come along for that journey in the film in the way that it kind of does recontextualize the past. Exciting to me as a filmmaker that people are willing to take that leap, and it's it was a bit of a risk in the script stage because you never know how it's going to land for an audience, but I felt really strongly that people would come along and yeah, you feel that frustration, but also like allow it to be the journey that the film is.
Well, congratulations on Blue Heron and continued success. It's won a number of awards. I believe it won Best Canadian Film Award at the Toronto Film Critics Association. Congratulations on that. And it is in release right now as we speak. So for people interested, and it's being released through Janus Films.
Mm.
Fantastic. Congratulations on that. What a history
Oh
that
yeah.
brings with it. And gosh, I'm so happy for you and your feature. This feature film is got to be encouraging for you to move forward, and I look forward to more work from you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Mike. It's really wonderful to meet you and to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've been speaking with Sophy Romvari. She's the director and writer of a wonderful film called Blue Heron. Be sure and seek it out. Again, it's in theaters right now. And be looking for a Janus release, a Janus film release. And
Thank you. Take care, Mike.
You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.